Hello guys and girls, welcome to my first part of this new series. I am your host gNightrow. Today I'm just going to be messing around. Eventually I might create songs, but who knows. Right now I don't really have that much time on my hands, so right now I'll just do random things and talk about the different effects which I can do with sounds. So this is FL Studio. I forget which version. It's been a while since I've downloaded it, so I forgot. First off, we've got sounds here by just clicking on them. But I'm not actually going to start off with those. We're going to start off with a 3x oscillator. So with this, if I click on my keyboard, then that also makes sounds. So this is a sine wave. Well, this is a saw wave with two sine waves. I can make it fully saw. And you can also have an angled saw, I guess. I don't know the specific names for stuff, but yeah, so depending on what shape goes in, it creates different sounds. And this is like a square saw, which sounds similar to a duck, but not really. And for this last one, which is a dice, which is random, which is noise, essentially. I think there's a difference between white noise and grey noise, but I think it depends whether or not it's all frequencies or a particular range of frequencies. I don't know the science behind different things. I just know the general idea of stuff. And for this last one is just a file which you can upload, I guess. But either way, go into this panel here and you can change how fast it attacks. But I'll start off with this saw. So it's a gradual increase of volume, or it's a more sudden increase with volume, and how much it falls off after. So it's either a cluck or it's like a, I don't know. I don't know how to describe this one. It's just longer, I guess. And you can change the pitch. Instead of dragging the mouse like this, I could automate it with stuff later, which is a bit more advanced. But you can have like really basic modulation here, which isn't as customizable as later modulation, but you've got a really basic thing within the actual window itself. So I'll increase the hold. Which basically increases how long the sound is actually displayed for. So if I do it fully, then it'll be forever, I guess. Oh, this one, this slider here changes the contrast between the high pitches and the low pitches. And then this one changes how fast it goes. I can completely flip it, depending on where it actually starts at. Ignore the spraying sound. And this one changes basically the same thing as this, basically how much it changes at the beginning. And how it starts at the beginning affects the rest of the sound later on. Very meaty, I guess. Restart these with the mod X. It basically compresses it on the x-axis and decompresses it on the x-axis. So it's quieter and louder. It's hard to actually explain what each of the things does. It's just easier to actually listen and tell the difference. So if I turned off the mod X and then turned on this, that is a different sound to this. Just subtly. But what I could do is actually have both of them on and slightly offset these. So it sounds like there's two sounds going at once. And what is even crazier is if I change the pitch also to have it modulated. So you can also compress the x-axis and decompress the x-axis, and also there's another one which is decompressing and uncompressing the y-axis. So with the y-axis, you can't really see much of the difference. Well, you can see a difference, but it's basically how sharp it is. It's whether or not you like that sort of style, I guess. I normally turn this right down because of the fact that it hurts my ears. I'll delete this and then start a new one. With square one, so it's different. And I normally don't have the attack directly like this, like flat up against the side, because it's not really natural to have it suddenly making a sound. Usually there's a small time of impact before it creates sound. If you imagine in slow motion, if you hit a drum, you would actually first rub against the side of the drum before it creates the big impact of the sound. So I'd rather if it was slightly over like this, so you can actually subtly tell that you're going to hear the sound before the actual main sound occurs. Okay, so I'll add effects to this by clicking on this button here, and it brings up these sliders, but I basically don't want to be having it at the main one, M. I'll have it at 1, because if I have it at the main one and then I have other sounds added also, then I would essentially have all the effects changing all of the sounds which I create, which I don't want I want effects depending on which sounds I create. So I'll just have this at 1 and get used to it. So I'll click on this arrow here, and then I'll just add a bunch of effects. First one I'll start off with is a fruity blood overdrive, which is basically a amplifier, so it sounds louder. I always actually turn this times 100 on. I don't really know what units the times 100 on, but it's not 100 times louder. But either way, I always turn that on so that it's a bit louder. And then you basically need to mess around with these settings so that you personally understand them. It's hard to explain, but it's better if you mess around with them yourself. But I usually turn that up and then add color, I guess. I'm not too sure what color means, and if I ever looked it up then I would immediately forget, but it makes it sound clearer. And I leave the filters and pre-band off so that it's clear as possible. And leave the post gain loud as possible. And then I'll start with a fruity delay 3, which is the better version of the fruity delay 2, simply because it's got more options. It's got the same options, just more. I don't know why the fruity delay 2 is still part of this. So if I click on it once, then it'll just delay. So what I usually do is have the time at the minimum. You can see the difference, like it's metallic, I guess. I don't know what gives, I don't know the scientific thing which gives metal this sound, but either way, it sounds better. You can see how much it affects it. If I put it too much, then you can actually hear the previous. Yeah, so if I put it too much, you can actually hear the sound previously, which I pressed. Like, I'm not holding any button down, but it still displays the last sound it was played, so. Because it's constantly feeding back into the system again, over and over again. So it's quite weird how you can actually hear the previous sound, even though the thing is empty. But I usually have it lower, and I usually affect the timing. And if you turn this down, it turns down the entire effect, so you can actually hear the previous sound before the effect. If I turn this completely down, this knob here is the same knob as this one, which is turning it off and on. It's just a different place, I guess. The next thing which I'll do is an equalizer thing. This is the same as this, which is the same as this, but the Fruity Paramedic EQ2 is a bit more advanced because you can actually drag these out, which is a bit strange, but I kind of know the reason why you do that, but it's hard to explain. But I'll just start with just a normal one. I can turn off and on the effect directly here from the side, so I'll turn that equal to 1 off right now, and then I'll just work with this one and then replace the other one later on with a different effect. So usually with this, I just automatically click on the dot one by default, and then I basically want to take away the high end, and then I go up, so it's basically the lower end is the less effect it has on the actual sound, I guess, because you tend to notice high pitch sounds a lot easier than low pitch sounds. But if it goes past around here, then you can not hear it, but you can actually feel it if it's too loud. But it depends on the person. So if it's high pitched, like really high pitched but really loud, it will damage your ears. Like it'll damage your ears before you can actually hear something. So I'd rather always have the high pitch low down, and then gradually here I put it up, and then I put it down, and then back up, and kind of gradually going down-ish here. So there's basically two hills, I guess, and the lower end hill doesn't really matter how wide it is, usually, but you can edit yourself. But this is a sort of shape I always have, so that it sounds really more dynamic than just flat. But I guess if you're wanting vocals, you're wanting it just up like this and then down just once for power in the vocals, as opposed to instruments. And I'll add the Fruity Wave Shaper here, and then I basically right click here so that it's like a quarter of the way up, and then I've got these handles here, and I basically push this up here usually. And what this does, if you look at here, or you can't really tell with this particular sound shape, but usually with a different sound you can actually tell that the high end is a bit more compressed, so it sounds louder without actually making it louder. The trick is to make it sound loud as possible without having it damage your ears. So you basically want the high end compressed as much as possible, and most of the dynamic of the sound is in the low end, but moving the high end up and down also, because you notice the high end more than the low end. I guess because I'm using quite an unnatural sound, which doesn't have any random noise, it doesn't really sound that much different. But if I was using something else, like a kick and snare or whatever, any other sound, then it'll sound a lot different. But I always just muscle memory always have a wave shaper here, and then I would actually have another EQ sound afterwards, and always click this dot here so that I can have better control of it, and then I can basically just mess it around afterwards. So if I want to boost the high end, then I'll do that, and then if I want to boost the low end, I'll do that. But yeah, so it basically adds another effect afterwards. Oh, I didn't even turn that on. Oh well. So this is at normal. Okay. Even when it turns on, it doesn't make much of a difference, but it depends on the instrument, I guess. At this point in the video, I'm just going to mess around. Oh yeah, if I increase the range, then it adds more, because it's a very small. Like, the difference between 1 and... oh, it doesn't show. The difference between highest pitch here and highest pitch here isn't as much if I... compared to here and here. See? So I always have it max. I don't know why it's not default as max. If it's too loud, then I just go into the bloody overdrive. I guess the preamp is clarity, and then the post gain is just after it's amplified. It's hard to explain, you need to tinker around yourself to understand. And with the panning, is basically left ear and right ear headphones. Or, yeah. Or speakers, I guess. Left and right ears. So yeah, I guess I'll stop this for now. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe and click the like button and click on the notifications so that you would get a notification for my next video. Thank you very much for watching. Bye. Okay, bye.